Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's live stream. And today we're going to be talking about Halifax's latest house price index, which came out first thing this morning. So, very pleased I'm able to get a video out or a live stream out actually on time and not a few days later. So, we're going to go over that report. You can ask any questions in the comment section below. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe so you get a notification every time we have a live stream. Hopefully, you can all see me and you can hear me okay. And we are going to get straight into the report because it's late. And yeah, I don't want to keep you guys up for too long. So let's go through this. Let's go to this one here. Right. So let's read the report. Slight monthly fall in property prices, but housing market displays resilience. Now, the key headlines here is that the new average property price for Halifax figures for their mortgage lending is £285,044. That's a monthly change of 0.3%. Minus 0.3%, a quarterly change of zero point 0.3, and an annual change from this time last year of minus 2.4%. Yeah, so we're noticing these reports, these figures coming in at quite small price decreases each month. We're not seeing steady, large falls each month, which I thought we may have experienced by now with all the crap that's going on in the world. But at the moment, they've been quite minuscule. We're talking, yeah, not a lot at all. Is it about £1,000 off from last month? So when you're talking hundreds of thousands of pounds, it's not a huge amount of money. So yeah, I get off track. I start rambling on, and then I dive from the report. As you can see here, there's a graph here showing the blue line there is the annual change. You can see that house prices have steadily been going down from this time last year. We've got the 3 month on 3 month change, so the quarterly change as a percentage. Not sure what happened in April and May. I know we had a leveling off. And then the month-on-month change, pretty flat, despite all the upheaval we've had in the mortgage world. So yeah, bit of a surprise that. Kinnard, she goes on to say, average UK house prices edged down slightly in July with a monthly fall of minus 0.3%, equivalent to a drop of around £1,000. While this was the fourth consecutive monthly decrease, all have been smaller than 0.5%. So, as I was just saying, they're not going down. I didn't expect them to sort of drop, but I thought that the monthly decrease would be bigger than 0.5%, and all of them over the last 4 months, according to Halifax. And remember, this is just Halifax figures, has been quite quite minuscule. So not a month on month huge decline of 0.5% or more. So yeah, all the shocks we've had, it doesn't seem to have affected Halifax buyers as much as a lot of people were thinking. In reality, prices are little changed over the last 6 months, with a typical property now costing 285 and £44 compared to 284 and £45 and 285 £660 in February this year. The pace of annual decline also slowed to minus 2.4 in July versus 2.6 in June. These figures add to the sense of a housing market which continues to display a degree of resilience in the face of tough economic headwinds. And we've not seen the full effects of the headwinds that the media keep talking about, and reports like this. We've still got a lot of people to come off of their fixed terms this year and next year and the year after. So there will be a lot of people who may be more desperate to sell in the coming months and year. But at the moment, with what people are facing, the majority of people are facing, there isn't that massive rush to sell quickly in order to stop being repossessed or whatever's worse than being repossessed. In particular, we are seeing activity amongst first-time buyers hold up relatively well. Interesting. With indicators, some are now searching for smaller homes to offset the higher borrowing costs, and that's something that I've talked about in the last live stream. Is over the last, say, 10, 15 years, first-time buyers have been buying the property that they want rather than the one they need. So maybe 20, 30 years ago, first time buyers would have started off buying a small one bedroom flat or two bedroom flat or a small house, and then working their way up the ladder to buying the bigger detached or three bedroom semi, four bedroom detached house, which would be a family home. Over the course of me um, working, in the last 15 years out of the 21, it has been the first time buyers have stretched themselves to buy the bigger houses straight away rather than working their ways up like many of our parents and grandparents did. So what's happening now is there's now a shift of going back to what buyers were doing a generation ago in terms of starting off smaller and then gradually working their way up to the bigger house. Um, Conversely, the buy-to-let sector appears to be under some pressure, though elevated interest rates are just one factor impacting landlords' business models, together with considerations of future rental market reforms. It remains to be seen, however, how many choose to exit the market and what that could mean for supply of properties available to buy. I've noticed quite a few landlords who have had enough now of rent. Um, as and when tenants are giving notice or mortgage deals are coming up, I'm noticing a lot of landlords or marketing side are passing more and more landlords through, hoping to sell their properties to get out of the game altogether. There are always new people looking to come in, but I've certainly seen an uptick in landlords looking to sell more so this year than in the other years that I've done this. So yeah, hasn't swamped the market with more supply just to buy-to-let landlords. There's certainly more supply of buy-to-let landlords selling, but not a huge exodus just yet. Just slightly more. Um, Prospects for the UK housing market remain closely linked to the performance of the wider economy. Several factors are providing support, notably strong wage growth, running at around 7% annually, but you've got to take inflation off of that. And while the uptick in unemployment is likely to restrain that somewhat, it seems unlikely to reach levels that would trigger a sharp deterioration in conditions. So they're hedging a bet that at the moment, because unemployment is low, that may not be as bad or may not get to the point where it's that bad that we're gonna start seeing people struggling to pay their mortgage. That remains to be seen. It's all guesswork. It's all guesswork. In the Halifax Price Index chart going from January 2020 to 2023, so over the last 3 years, it's been eventful. It's been eventful. Um, yeah, so we've got COVID straight up, quite a large incline or degree of incline there, and then we've had sort of the cooling off interest rates, mini budget here, and then we've seen, according to Halifax, it's definitely dropped down, but then we've got this sort of stagnation, this stabilisation, as some may put it, of house prices. Again, where that line goes after the next few months, have a in the comment section below where you think that line, how low that line's going to go. So we started at 240 before COVID, the average house. How low is it going to go down? Close to 200, 220? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. National and regional house prices. Average house prices fell on an annual basis in almost all parts of the UK in July, with the only exception being the West Midlands, stayed zero, of average house price of 250, where they remained effectively flat. The South East remains the area where house prices are facing the most downward pressure, down 3.9% on an annual basis. Just over £15,500 have been taken off the value of a typical property in the region over the last year. The average price is still £382,489. Greater London mirrors that trend. No surprise, it's part of that area, with average property prices down 3.5% annually in the capital. Average now just a cool £531,141. Wales, not sure if we have any Welsh people watching this. Home to some of the most rapid growth in house prices witnessed during the pandemic boom, experienced a minus 3.3% reduction on an annual basis. The average house price now being 214,495. And in Scotland, prices were down less than 0.7% over the last year, with the average price of £201,501. And in Northern Ireland, they're only down a smidgen over the year. So that is the report. That is the report. Hope everyone got through that all right. Let's just get this stuff back up on here. Yeah. So, what do you think to it, guys? What do you think? Is the housing market starting to level off? Are we seeing the huge predictions of some economists and people maybe not pan out as they were expecting? I've said that I predict probably between 10 and 15% will be the scenario that I can see, and that will vary depending where you are in the country. I say some places haven't seen a drop annually over the year at all. Some have had price increases, some have had quite heavy reductions. So it really will depend on exactly where you are in the country. Almost, or it can almost go down to specific streets as well, because some streets will always have more of a pull and hold their value more than some others. So let me know what you think is going to happen. Let me know what you think is going to happen. Always like to know what you guys think. Hello, Ashley. You finally made it on time. Thanks for joining us, Ashley. Thank you for joining us. These are getting late, I know, but my wife goes to work at 8:30. It gives me some time to prepare. Yeah, yeah. So it's a bit late. Leo is from Southeast London. Hopefully soon to be Ken. Fingers crossed for you. Fingers crossed. Adam, long time no see. How you been? How you been? Hi, Lee. How are the sales volumes in your area? I hope it's taking longer to sell. Prices sticky so far. Slight drops only. Take into account inflation so high in real terms. I guess price drops are bigger. I'm in a cheaper part of Essex. Say cheaper. It's probably still quite expensive compared to some areas, but we're not noticing a huge drop. Some types of properties have. Some we've seen up to sort of 10% drop from where we were selling them maybe July, August time last year. Um, but some stuff just isn't selling. Like the appetite to buy a bigger house at the moment just isn't there for most people. I've got a couple of stunning, well-priced houses. One of them's a friend of mine. It's fantastic. I valued it. It's come on, I think the right price, but the demand for those types of houses just isn't there than what I'm seeing. And what we're seeing is there's a huge demand for smaller houses. As the report says, first time buyers, which are the start of almost every chain, are buying the smaller houses now. So it may not be that house prices are actually dropping, it's just a case of the ones that are being bought at the moment are ones that are cheaper. Your smaller houses, your three-bedroom semis, not the 3, 4-bedroom detaches that we were selling hand over fist over the last 2, 3 years. So certain properties, three-bedroom semis, two-bedroom semis, three-bedroom mid-terrace haven't had too much of a drop where I am right now. It's those larger houses which, if they want to sell, they're gonna have to make themselves even more attractive to entice people to want to buy bigger at the moment. In terms of volumes of sales, very strong still, very, very strong. We are almost like for last year, and last year was great up until the mini budget. So, yeah, at the moment, volumes of sales, really, really good. The time it's taken, to go through, is about 4 months still, which is still far, far too long, but sales volumes, very, very strong for my office or my 2 offices. Yeah, got no complaints there, no complaints there. I can only see at the moment where I am, Adam, will be the larger houses having to take huge drops, which will have an impact on these types of reports and registry reports, etc. Um, the larger houses are going to have to take a massive drop to entice people to take on these large mortgages at large, so at really high rates. Until those rates come down and make a bigger house more palatable, then yeah, those are the ones that are going to see the bigger percentage drops. Whereas at the moment, I see the smaller properties, flats, decent flats with decent leases, and the smaller starter homes, they're doing exceptionally well now, really well. Hope I covered everything there. Uh, Ashley, so, viewed a house in Belfast this week. Agent said the market is a very different place than it was when I began my search in 2022. It said houses were still moving, but very few bidding wars now. That's what you want as a buyer. You don't want a bidding war. You don't want to be up against anyone. You don't want to be fighting and guessing the best price to offer. If you've done your research, you'll know how much that property is worth to you. And if you're not up against anyone, there's more of a chance you're going to get that price So that property at the price that it's worth to you, actually. And I really hope you've been around a long time on this channel, so I really hope that one day you can join us in the live stream and you can let everyone know you found somewhere, you bought it, and you can let us know what your first meal is in your new home. Hopefully, it won't be too much longer. Are they cash buyers? We've got very few cash in the bank buyers, and to be honest with you, a lot of cash buyers don't like to put all their eggs into one basket. They leverage it, they spread it about, and then sort of get a mortgage for at least some of the amount, so they keep some of their capital back. But no, we've got a steady flow of first time buyers buying. We've always got a flow of downsizers looking to buy, but they need to be in a position to buy, and some of them are. They have sold their houses to first time buyers, second time buyers. But no, it seems to be a mixture of people. Cash buyers, there's always a flow of them, cash from sale, but yeah, I'm not noticing a massive uptick in just cash buyers only. Actually, I haven't seen asking prices come down much here at all, but houses stay on the market for longer and no longer expected to pay at least 10% over asking price due to bidding wars like it was in the spring. So technically, then you could say that if you have to pay 10% over and you have to pay maybe the asking price, the prices have actually adjusted by 10%. So that is a reduction that you're not having to pay more or the same amount as what you had to pay uh, just over a year ago, actually. So you could wait a bit longer and see what happens. I mean, what did they say in the Halifax report? I've forgotten already. That was Northern Ireland, price down 0.3% annually. Not sure if that's much of a relevance for where where you are. I mean, yeah, Belfast is Northern Ireland, isn't it? Yeah. So that they're saying they haven't actually come down that much in the last year, 0.3%. So if you're experiencing places that you're not having to pay 10% over the asking price, than last year's asking price, then hopefully you're not doing too bad. You're not doing too bad. Fingers crossed. Yes, definitely fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Son of Odin, do you advise to buy now or wait until 2024? I never give personal advice like that because your reasoning to buy somewhere is personal to you. So I personally, if I found a house I wanted to buy, I'm not overpaying, I can afford the monthly payments, and I can't see my financial situation changing for the foreseeable future, you see the house you want to buy, and I see no reason not to buy. However, if you're paying too much for the property, you don't like the area, you think you may end up moving in the next 2 to 5 years, you can see your financial position changing, i.e. a job loss or maybe having children, which may affect how much you can afford to pay on your mortgage or anything like that, then I would personally look to think twice. But you've got to tick quite a few boxes on either one of those to decide whether you should buy now or wait. I've as a quote that Jeff Bezos, I've done a video on it once. Um, Jeff Bezos says, base decisions on probability of your regret. So you could buy or could wait and house prices drop um, a little bit and you could have saved a bit of money. Or you could buy now, secure a property at the right price for you, be happy with the payments, and when it comes to remortgaging in a few years' time, have a cheaper mortgage. But what one would you regret the most? Potentially saving some money if house prices dropped, and we don't know what's gonna happen economically wise, whether interest rates are gonna stay this high, so the actual saving is nominal or could be nominal, or the fact that you've started paying off a property a year earlier because you're paying off some of the mortgage. I bet the first few years you're not paying much off your your mortgage, you're paying mainly interest. But I personally, if I was in a position to buy now, and if I was in rented and my rent was gonna be more than what a mortgage would be, I would definitely be considering buying now. Definitely, providing I tick all those boxes and if it's gonna cost me more to stay where I am, i.e. in rented. If you're living at home with barely any outgoings, then you may decide to wait and save money and see what happens with the market. You've got nothing to lose. But if somebody who is in rented paying a lot of money on rent, and the prospect of that maybe going up at some point in the near future, then I would be looking to buy sooner rather than later. But that's just a scenario. Your scenario may be completely different to that, in which case the answer to that question could be the complete opposite. Um, but yeah, you've got to look at it yourself and base your decision on the probability of your regret. And that can work both ways, whether you do it or don't. And then it's up to you what happens, isn't it? You can't blame anyone. Leo. Oh, if you haven't liked the stream, guys, if you could, that'd be fantastic. I think we got about 13 on the live stream liking it last week. So we're at 8 at the moment. So we can get that up to at least double digits in the next few minutes. That'd be fantastic. Leo, I've noticed that properties that are overpriced and listed for months are dropping by 30, 40,000 and going straight to auction, slightly annoying for first time buyers. So that always puzzles me where an owner's happy to sit on the market at an inflated price for such a long time, then reduce it and put it straight into auction. It's like they've left it far too late to get a normal sale. If they are in a rush to sell, they should put it on for the right price originally, and they probably would have got more money than the money they're going to get offered at auction. So this is what we're saying. Pricing is so key. If you're a seller watching this right now, and if you're not in a rush, then you probably shouldn't move because buyers aren't paying prices that owners want. They're paying realistic prices for realistic properties. So, yeah, put it on for 30, 40, 50, even sometimes 5 to 10 grand, depending on the level of value, can be way too much. And it's going to cost you in the long run because you're going to be chasing a falling market. If you're putting on the market for 30 grand more than what the estate agent says, and you leave it 2, 3 months, and then you reduce it to what the estate agent says, the market's dropped each month. It's dropping 0.3, 0.4, zero point 0.2. Each month, you don't reduce your price and put it on for the right price there and then, it's going to cost you money. But yeah, going straight to auction is very strange and very frustrating if you are a first time buyer because I wouldn't want to buy at auction. Even as an estate agent, I don't think I'd buy at auction. But yeah, it can be a bit risky, especially if you need a mortgage. And that's Kent. So, I mean, Kent's an expensive part of the world. So 30, 40 grand off the asking price and then going straight to auction. Something's not right there. Something's not right there. All right. So before the stream started, my only demand is back to work. Posted. Posted. What did you say? Hi. I found a dream property and has just offered the asking price. I guess I need to turn a blind eye to this type of news. Not at all. Not at all. There are properties coming onto the market, and I know because I'm taking them on, that are coming on at the correct price. And paying the asking price for something isn't bad at the moment because it could be on for exactly the right price. It could be on for below market value. I'm trying to take on as much property on the market for the right price as possible, and my colleagues are trying to do the same as well. We're not one of these agents that try and get it on for any price and then try and flog it and get the owner to reduce. Yes, sometimes we have to do that. We have to get them to reduce. We are wrong sometimes, but more often than not, what we take on the market is generally the right price to begin with, and we do get very, very close to those asking prices because we price correctly. And if you have bought a property that has been priced correctly, and you should know that, my only demand, by doing your research, you must have been happy to pay that price knowing that you're not overpaying. So buying a property in this market at asking price can be a thing to do, providing it is at the right price and you've done your research to make sure it is at the right price. Does that make sense? So you may be hearing stories that people are getting 10, 20, 30, 40,000 pounds off the asking price. But if that property is already too high, they're only getting it for the price it should have been anyway. So I wouldn't be too disheartened if you have bought a property at asking price, providing you know that you're not overpaying for it. So yeah, there are some decent agents and decent sellers out there who are pricing realistically to get sold sooner rather than later. And if a house has been on the market, you know the golden rule, more than 3 or 4 weeks, then that house should be reduced and it should be worth a look at and a cheeky offer. That'd be what I would do. So my demand is back to work. The only reason they're wanting to buy is because I got a transferable mortgage offer from a previously fell through transaction, 4.06 at five year, good rate. I think I'll save 20 grand, which would be a nice buffer. Yeah, I mean, again, this is why deciding whether to buy or not is so personal, so specific to the individual person. I think there's a few people who may be watching this who would love a mortgage rate of 4.06% right now, with the average being 6.5%. So you're saving a third in interest over the next 5 years. And if you've worked it out as 20 grand, then although you don't wanna be paying 20 grand more than the property's worth, if you are, or prices drop, you've got that buffer, as you say. But you would have done your research as well, and make sure you're not overpaying for that. But great interest rate, great interest rate. On top of the renting situation and a 40%. That's why you've got a decent rate then. You're more than welcome, son of Odin. You are more than welcome. Um, Indeed, very annoying. This blocks normal people to buy these houses. It does. It takes, especially if that price is now right, where if they would have done that price originally, or maybe even just a little bit more, it would have sold to maybe a first time buyer, a family, or someone who's gonna treat it as a home rather than now potentially an investor just gonna rent it out or turn it into flats or do something different. Yeah. And I like it when people agree with me, Leo, so thank you. Hello, Tom. How you doing? I've got your comments. I will reply to that. Racing houses which don't require work up for auction. We've had, it's not just work. Sometimes there's missing paperwork while they can go to auction, like extensions that have been signed off or any planning permission or leases that are quite low will sometimes go to auction. But there are more sellers who may have left it, been clinging on to their property for as long as they can. Remember, interest rates started going up last year. Some mortgage deals finished and they were on variable rates, and they spent the last 8 months on a variable interest rate, and each month it's got more and more expensive. And they want to sell at a certain price to pay off their mortgage and have money left over. But sometimes when the things are getting desperate, auction can be a route, which is unfortunate. It's me. Hello. How are we? Long time no speak. I'm doing great, thank you. Absolutely great. Could you explain the modern method of auction, selling and buying? Seems like it's heavily weighed on the completion time. If your solicitor cocks up, let's continue that. Your left foot in the bill. So the modern method of auction, stay away from it. Stay away from it. Basically, it grants you an exclusivity period to complete the transaction. What isn't totally clear to you is it's not really an auction. You are literally putting an offer in, paying a deposit and a fee, and the reason you have to pay a fee is because most of the time the seller hasn't paid anything to the estate agent or auction company. The agent will get their fee from the buyer, buyer's fee, which can be thousands and thousands of pounds. So the seller's rocking up, hasn't got to pay a penny, and all the fees are front loaded onto you as a purchaser. So I personally, if you're looking to buy, wouldn't be looking at modern method of auction because there are stipulations, there are clauses that you have up to 56 days, I think is the general rule from issue of draft contracts, and you are at the hands of conveyancers, mortgage companies, lots of third parties where I personally wouldn't want to risk losing thousands of pounds because of somebody else's mistake. And depending on the seller and the contract you signed, there might be a way of extending that period, but isn't, and you put a deposit down, you could lose that deposit. So I personally, they only really help the seller. They're not really there to help a buyer. Granting you an exclusivity period, that happens anyway when you agree a sale and provide your solicitors your proof of funds. You get that exclusivity without a deadline, without a fixed deadline. So I personally would stay away from them. They're just a way to try and help the seller move without them putting their hands in their pocket and dressing it up in a way that the buyer benefits from getting exclusivity from it for a certain amount of time, and the vendor benefits from it by knowing that in 56 days they're going to have a buyer on their property, or a lump sum of money because they didn't complete. So I would stay away of it personally. Yeah, you are left footing the bill. Most definitely, most definitely. Up to 12 likes, one more, and we're matching the last live stream a few days ago. So if we can get one more like that'd be great, guys. Let me know where you're watching from as well. That'd be really good. I'd like to know whereabouts in the country you guys are watching. On demand. The seller bought the flat for 390 2 to 3 years. They are for 375 now. I think it's the best I've ever viewed. Well, 15 grand off, which is not a bad chunk of change. Um, and a realistic owner as well, who's actually selling at a loss, bought at the peak, and we're going to see a lot more of this over the next few years. We're going to see people who use Help to Buy, who bought new builds during the pandemic, now may want to sell, their 2-year fixed rate mortgage coming to an end, or the ones who bought 5 years ago and now got a large Help to Buy equity loan to pay. They may be looking at negative money. And a lot of people who bought 95% mortgages over the last 2, 3 years as well. So what you've got there is a switched on owner, and you've done your research, you know what they paid for it. It's the best place you've seen as well, and you got a good rate as well. I can't see no harm in that from what you've told me. So congratulations on that. What do you plan your first meal to be in there, my only demand? You know I like to know this. You know I like to know the important questions. So Lee, tell me, how do I go about doing their research about the correct price of the property? Would it be as simple as looking on Rightmove, street prices to see how much properties have gone for? So for me personally, I have access to Rightmove's back end, if you like, so I can go back in time to see what properties have been on the market, what haven't sold and come off, what have changed agents, how long they've been on the market for, stuff like that. There are quite a few Chrome extensions or browser extensions which you can do, which will give you some of that information, like productions and how long it's been on the market for. But for me personally, I'm looking at if I can find similar properties as close as possible in the vicinity that have come on the market and sold within those 3, 4 week period. If a three-bedroom semi has come on the market for 300 down Smith Street and sold within 2 to 3 weeks, then I know that that advertising price was at least the right price to get an offer. Then you look around a bit further, okay, that type house, that square footage, that was on the market for 310. That one didn't sell in 3, 4 weeks. That's still on the market. They've had to reduce to 300. So you can start looking at what is selling and what isn't selling. If you get enough properties of the same sort of um, type, as in semi-detached, detached, what you're looking at, you'll get a general view of what those types of houses are at least being advertised at. So you know they are, if they are selling, there or thereabouts. You can also ask estate agents. You can ask, "Oh, you sell something similar. What did you get for that?" They may lie to you, but generally they'll probably tell you what it sold for. Um, Eventually, if you know them, build up a rapport with an estate agent, but definitely asking questions. If they lie to you, you'll know because you'll be able to back it up, or it might conflict with the research that you are getting. But that'll be what you're looking at, what's selling and what's not selling. Look really closely at the stuff that is sold, the price it was marketed at, and how quickly it sold. So if it sold relatively quickly, then chances are it was on at the right price and probably got close to that price. Ones that came on the market didn't reduce, took ages to sell, probably took a lot of reduction. So that's what I would do. Um, you could even knock on the door and ask them, but I don't think people will tell you that. I'd be very surprised if people tell you that. Cheers, Lee. Where are we? Pretty much as I thought. There's loads up like that around me. Yeah, yeah. It's a way of keeping sellers happy. It really is. We've got 2 agents in my town that do. I think it's Bairstow Eves. They offer this modern method auction where they do that, advertise it at a guide price, which is below what the owner wants, and then try and tie these buyers in. It's crazy. And the other way is this 50-50% ownership. I think it's leaders who are quite big around my part of the country, buy 50% of the home and rent the rest. So they advertise the house at 50% reduction, so a three-bedroom semi for 150 grand. Get a lot of people clicking on that, but then, yeah, it doesn't paint the whole picture. Bear with me one second, guys. Just Pepsi tonight. Cost of living crisis. Can't afford beer. I can, but no. um, I hate this type of auction. You lose a lot if it goes wrong. I disagree with the management arrangements and lease of the previous property, which was undisclosed before I received the info tax query. Yeah, I mean, agents now have to provide a lot of information: ground rent, service charge, ground rent renewal, lease, sorry, service charge renewal. And in fact, we've actually started downloading the lease for leasehold properties. So if anybody asks us a question, we should have the answer for them straight away. So you guys can make an informed decision straight away rather than having to pay a solicitor to find out later on and when you're hundreds of pounds out of pocket. So agents, best practice is to download the lease and have a lot of information available prior to marketing, but a lot of agents don't do it. It's not law, it's just best practice. And we've only just started to get the lease. It costs money. It costs my boss money. Uh, the normal system can work. So the normal system protect buyer because you can walk away with exactly. It's all subject to contract when you're buying a property the traditional way. You can pull out at any point and only lose the money that you've paid for a solicitor, mortgage company, survey, those sorts of things, and so can the seller. So there's got to be that trust between both the buyer and the seller, which is why I've said for as long as I've done this channel, having a good relationship with the estate agent and the seller can really sort of help mitigate any reason why the sale should fall through. If you need to renegotiate, a seller's more happy to renegotiate to somebody they like and get on well with than somebody that they don't like. So having that rapport is a real key thing. Son of Odin, what are the requirements as proof of funds for a cash buyer? So that will vary depending on who you're asking. An estate agent would just need to see a bank statement with your name, a recent date, and the amount on it. A solicitor will like to see how that money came into your account. It's all for their anti-money laundering checks. So I had a recent one where somebody bought a park home through ourselves for 200 odd thousand pounds. They'd sold a property in Singapore. We saw their bank account with their name saying there was 200 and some thousand pounds in their bank account. Great, that's good enough for us. We know that you can afford it. The solicitor dealing with the case who's receiving the money needed to know exactly where every penny of that money came from. So they needed to see the bank statement which showed the money going in the account. They needed a letter from the previous solicitor who sent the money across. So there needs to be a massive trail of where the money came from. So if you had money given to you from family members, they may need to prove where that money's come from. So be prepared for that. If you are a cash buyer and you've borrowed money or people have given you money, you will need to prove where that money's come from. Okay, but for an estate agent, cash just showing it in your bank account with a recent date and your name and address on it, that should suffice for most estate agents. I hope that helps. Archie, so it's not necessarily the road, it's neighbouring roads too. I'll look into Chrome. Yeah, I mean, you'll get some roads which, like some developments, I mean, we've got quite a few where I am, 1970s, 80s developments where most three-bedroom houses, most two-bedroom houses will sell roughly the same, depending if that they are the same inside still in terms of no extensions, condition, etc. But certainly, if you can't get really specific to next door or down the same road, then you're gonna have to branch out a little bit and then adjust how much you think the value changes based on the different locations. Like, you'll know what areas are better and worse in your town that you're looking to buy in. So you need to do your own sort of mental arithmetic as to how much that area differs from your area. But again, if you do your research, you'll see that, okay, that area gets normally 5 to 10% more. So I can take that off of that and adjust it to this property. Hope that makes sense. And a nice smiley face. Let's have a look here. Up to 17 likes. Fantastic, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Um, so you can download leases on Land Registry. I think it costs £3 a go. You can get the title plan. It will have maybe not the full lease. That might cost a bit more on there, but Yeah, you should be able to get it from Land Registry, set up an account, £3 to £5 to get the title, which will include some lease details, like when it started, what the ground rent is, and how long is left on the lease. Management information you'll need to get from the seller's solicitor, because as a seller, they'll need to pay their freeholder or management company for that information to send on to you. Tino, my friend had my friend has his offer accepted, but says he's delaying to see if interest rates fall. If they do, he will pull out. My friend has his offer accepted, but says he's delaying to see if interest rates fall, and if they do, he'll pull out. He, if interest rates fall, he could just get a cheaper mortgage. I don't see what pulling out would do. If interest rates fall, then there may be somebody. Oh, hang on, different question, different question. But yeah, I would question that, unless if I'm reading that wrong, Tino, let me know. But he's getting the same property theoretically for cheaper because the interest rate's gone down. If he applies for a new mortgage at a cheaper rate, he's paying less interest, so the overall amount he's paying over the term of the mortgage or the initial term is lower. So we're quite get that one. Can I get a mortgage without a broker? You can indeed. You can indeed. Even me being in the property game and understanding somewhat a lot, but not all about mortgages, I would always use a broker. And this isn't a shameless plug to tell you about the mortgage broker that I recommend and use. So if you are interested in speaking to an independent mortgage broker, uh, drop a comment below or email me, lee@theeverettproperty.co.uk, because they know who will be the best lender for your circumstance. I've said this before, me being on majority commission based, my broker knew which lender would take more of my commission into account. So there's no point me going with X bank because they'll only take half of my commission. Let's go with Y amount, you take 75% of your commission. So that helps your affordability. So I would definitely look at speaking to a broker. They can help you save thousands and thousands of pounds and take so much stress out of it. You may have to pay a little bit upfront, but over the long term, have an independent broker is the way to go in my opinion. But you can do it. You can do it. Many people have and will do, but I will always look to go down the route broker. Question mark. Was that for that comment? Right, Demanda, did I say something wrong? Did I say something wrong? Where are we? Well, I think I've caught up with all the questions. So if you haven't subscribed, guys, let's hit subscribe. Let's hit the bell button. Let's let YouTube know that we're doing something good here. We're doing something good. I think I'm probably going to leave that here. If you do want to support the channel, you can always send a super thank or buy me a coffee on my banner. Always appreciate that. Had a couple